Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1721B, and today's date is November 20th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, They Know It's Coming, Swamp Fighting Back, The Call is Getting Louder. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk to all the Trump supporters. Noble Gold has just released a 24-karat solid gold commemorative Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. The demand for these has been staggering, and I have to tell you, there's now a waiting list for them. And if you're a Trump supporter and you want to own one of these, right now, if you get on their waiting list, they are currently discounting the coin over $50 per coin, which is an incredible savings for this commemorative coin. So to get on the waiting list and reserve yours, go to TrumpCoin2020.com to secure your coin. The link is at the bottom of this video. To make it a lot easier, all you have to do is click on it. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they know the D-class is coming very soon. They understand that it's coming. They realize that they have to stop it. And they're using a lot of projection right now, which we're going to be going to in just a minute. But first, I wanted to talk about what is happening with Jim Acosta. It looks like the White House put out a set of rules for reporters right now. And this afternoon, they notified Jim Acosta and CNN that his hard pass has been restored. We have also notified him of certain rules that will govern White House press conferences going forward. They are listed here. Number one, a journalist called upon to ask a question will ask a single question and then will yield the floor to other journalists. Number two, at the discretion of the president or other White House officials taking questions, a follow-up question or questions may be permitted, and where a follow-up has been allowed and asked, the questionnaire will then yield the floor. Number three, yielding the floor includes, when applicable, physically surrendering the microphone to White House staff for use by the next questionnaire. Number four, failure to abide by any rules, 1 through 3, may result in suspension or revocation of the journalist's hard pass. Now, they created these rules because of what happened with Jim Acosta. Now, when we look at this, we have to think to ourselves, what has the White House just done? They have stopped the reporters from grandstanding during the press conference. And they now put rules in place where they can only ask one question. And then they have to abide by these rules or they're removed. And this is very interesting. Now, I want to go back to post 2467. And this was November 10th, and this has to do with the California wildfires. Trump put out a tweet. There is a reason for these massive, deadly, and costly fires in California, except that forest management is so poor. Billions of dollars are given each year with so many lives lost, all because of gross mismanagement of the forest. Remedy now or no more Fed payments. Now, in this post, Q listed, how many fires were in California in the past 12 months, amount of fires in California in the past 10 years. But what's very interesting about this is the mainstream media was out there and they were making fun of Trump for saying this. Well, it looks like Trump is right again because California Governor Jerry Brown admits Trump is right. Jerry Brown eased California logging rules back in August. Now, he's the departing governor, and he concedes that Trump is absolutely correct in the California mismanagement of the forestry. And basically, he was pushing different laws in California in August. Governor Jerry Brown is proposing broad new changes to California's logging rules that would allow landowners to cut larger trees and build temporary roads without obtaining a permit as a way to thin more forests across the state. The proposal, which has the support of timber industry but is being opposed by more than a dozen environmental groups, would represent one of the largest changes to the state's timber harvesting rules in the past 45 years. The legislative session ends for the year next Friday. On Thursday, the details were still being negotiated by legislative leaders, and the governor's office behind the scenes had not yet been formally introduced in a bill or put up for a vote. They are trying to get to some kind of deal, said Rich Gordon, the president of the California Forestry Association, a timber industry group. They are looking at what can get done politically. Under Brown's proposal, private landowners will be able to cut trees up to 36 inches in diameter, up from the current 26 inches, on property 300 acres or less without getting a timber harvest permit from the state, as long as their purpose was to thin forests to reduce fire risk. They also would be able to build roads of up to 600 feet long without getting a permit, as long as they repaired and replanted them. And we can see that this wasn't done. And once again, they let the forest go. They funneled the money someplace else, and the money wasn't being spent properly. And here Trump was out there, and Q was out there telling us all of this, and the mainstream media was completely laughing at what Trump was saying. And here he is, right once again. Now, Representative Trey Gowdy, and hopefully he becomes the Attorney General, he reacted to the news that the House Republicans plan to subpoena former FBI Director James Comey and former Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Now, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte notified colleagues last week that he will subpoena Comey for a closed-door deposition November 29th and Lynch for December 5th as part of the investigation into the FBI and the Department of Justice handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe and the Russian investigation. Now, Comey responded to the news on Friday by calling for a public hearing, writing in a tweet, "House Republicans can ask me anything they want, but I want the American people to watch. So let's have a public hearing. Truth is best served by transparency. Let me know when is convenient." Now, of course, why do you think he's saying this? That he wants a open, public, transparent hearing? It's because he knows they can't ask the meat and potato questions, the hard questions that are classified. Now, Gowdy fired back and said the following. Did he interview Hillary Clinton in public? Did he interview George Papadopoulos in public? Did he interview Michael Flynn in public? Did he interview Huma Abedin in public? Cheryl Mills, has the FBI ever conducted an interview in public? And has the FBI ever conducted an interview where you're limited to 5 minutes? Which is what happens in congressional hearings, Gowdy said. What he's doing here, he's trying to protect himself by sounding like he wants it all transparent, but what he's really doing, he doesn't want to go into a private room where they can ask him the hard questions, and he will be under oath. And Gowdy is calling him out on all of this. Now, we know the calls are getting louder and louder about the D-class, and we need to go back to post 2198. And this is September 17th. D-class coming. More incriminating text releases coming. Dark to light, carpet bombs with 3 arrows pointing to Moab, the mother of all bombs. Now, here are some carpet bombs that they're calling for. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes said he wishes to see a fourth bucket of emails declassified, saying it would reveal evidence that the Department of Justice and FBI withheld information from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. This is a carpet bomb. Nunes said the first of 3 buckets were Russia-related documents, which President Trump, after calling for their release, had to backtrack on after Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein intervened and suggested the Inspector General review them first. The new fourth bucket that we're asking to be declassified now is, for months, we have been reviewing emails between the FBI and Department of Justice and others that clearly show that they knew about information that should have been presented to the FISA court. So it is real evidence that people within the FBI withheld evidence from the FISA court. Even though we know what's in those emails, a lot of them are redacted. So they're still refusing to give Congress, even in a classified setting, this information. Now remember, Rosenstein was in control before. He was controlling Mueller. Now we have an acting attorney general, which is Whitaker. Think about this for a second. They are so afraid of a temporary attorney general. Why? Well, we know the reasons why. Let's move on to post 2455. Q put this up, and Anon actually posted an article from Reuters. It says, top Senate Democrat Schumer, Whitaker should recuse himself from Russia probe. And Q said, there will be no recusal. Panic in D.C., all caps. Now, today, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called for a probe into Matthew Whitaker. They want to probe Matthew Whitaker and his ties to Trump. So he wrote a letter to Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, asking to probe this information. So think about what they're doing here. Q told us that there'll be no recusal. They are panicking in D.C., and they're doing all of this over an acting attorney general. I mean, the upper chamber of the Democrats, they are suing. We have Maryland suing. We have Schumer and Blumenthal both out there saying that Whitaker needs to step down. Schumer wants a probe. They're doing this to an acting attorney general. That speaks volumes. So then we move to post 2462. Q wrote, who was Sessions' chief of staff? What were the responsibilities of Whitaker? What is the role of a chief of staff? Shadow players are the deadliest. Stealth, all caps, bold in brackets. What is the advantage of having a temp acting in a leadership position? They don't have to get confirmed. And guess what? They can do pretty much anything they want. They can't throw him out unless he does something against the law. What they did was they brought this individual in through the back door. Stealth operation. The deep state, they don't like this because they know Whitaker now has full control over Mueller, full control over Rod Rosenstein, and Rosenstein no longer is in control of stopping the D-class. Remember, it always stopped at Rosenstein. And guess what? It's not going to stop there anymore because Whitaker is going to say, here you go. No problem. This is what they're so afraid of. And you can tell by all of their messages, they're even projecting out there because they know what's coming. Now, what they did was they took an old story, the mainstream media, and they're running it now again. They're repeating it. Why would they do this? What is this story? Well, the Washington Post and many other mainstream media outlets, they put up a story about Ivanka Trump and the use of her personal email account for official communications. The mainstream media right now is comparing it to Hillary Clinton's use of private emails. Why would they do this? Because they're trying to downplay this. So the report by the Washington Post alleges that U.S. President Donald Trump's daughter and White House advisor Ivanka Trump briefly used her personal email account for communication with several administration agencies and officials. Trump's daughter reportedly sent about 1,000 emails containing her official schedule and travel arrangements to herself and her staff, and some 100 emails in which she discussed government-related business with officials, including Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, the Labor Department, DOL, the Department of Treasury, and the Department of Commerce staff, as well as the administrator of the Small Business Administration, Linda McMahon. Now, like Hillary, Ivanka at one point used a personal email account for official communication. But that's where the resemblance begins and ends. But what they're doing right now is they're trying to make the comparison that it's not that big of a deal of what Hillary did, because Ivanka did the same thing. But here's the difference. The emails that Ivanka was trading, this was during the transition period. Secondly, they were classified. There were no classified information in the emails. Clinton shared top secret, highly confidential information through her private email domain. Whoa, wait a minute. She had her own private server, her own private email domain. And this endangered national security. Ivanka didn't have a private email domain, didn't have a private server. She didn't set this up intentionally. So following the discovery of her use of private email in fall last year, the White House launched an internal review of emails, which was carried out by Ivanka's attorney, Abe Lowell. Now, Lowell combed through the troves of emails. Lowell transferred those containing official communication to Ivanka's government account to be archived in accordance with the law. So she went ahead and she moved her emails. Well, her attorney moved the emails and kept all them intact. She didn't delete them. She didn't bleach them. She made sure they were all there so everyone can read it. Clinton, on the other hand, if we're comparing, deleted some 30,000 emails she deemed personal using the tool BleachBit, which ensured they could not be recovered. And the manner in which Clinton got rid of the emails caused many of her critics to doubt her assertion that they had been personal, since it's become impossible to verify. I mean, she could have kept the email and she could have had certain individuals look at it and say, yes, these are personal. We don't need these. But instead, she went ahead and deleted it. 30,000 of them. So in contrast to Clinton, Ivanka has handed over all of her emails without deleting any. She didn't create a private server. She didn't leave it unsecured with classified information where other countries could have, gain access to the server and steal that information. But what they're doing right now is they are preparing for the declass, for what is coming. And they're trying to say all these investigations, well, Trump's daughter did the same thing. And they're trying to cut this off before it happens. This is how you know. This is an indicator that you know that it's coming. And they're very worried about what is coming. Now, a San Francisco judge has blocked an asylum ban for aliens who cross the border illegally. So, U.S. District Judge John Stephen Degar in San Francisco, who is an Obama appointee, issued a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration's modified emergency asylum policy, which barred asylum for aliens who enter the country illegally, setting up yet again another likely higher court appeal decision. So we knew that there was going to be a challenge against this because, they're always going to challenge all of it. So nothing in this ruling stops the hardened border enforcement. And it doesn't stop the expedited review and deportation program. So in essence, keep the illegal aliens out, and the judicial ruling is moot until defeated in the higher courts. Now, this ruling will obviously be appealed by the Department of Justice. On its face, this ruling is ridiculous, and it undermines the legal process for asylum requests by removing the distinction of illegal or unlawful conduct in the application process. So let's talk about the asylum process, and it has 3 basic requirements. First, an asylum applicant must establish that he or she fears persecution in their home country. That's number 1. Number 2, the applicant must prove that he or she would be persecuted on account of one of 5 protected grounds: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or particular social group. Third, an applicant must establish that the government is either involved in the persecution or unable to control the conduct of private actors. Now, Trump did mention, and he tweeted this out, that if these people are actually looking for asylum, they must meet these 3 different requirements. And if they did meet these requirements, they would have accepted asylum from Mexico because Mexico offered it, but they refused. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to accept the first country that offers it to you. But if these people were fleeing from their country because one of these 3 reasons, they would have accepted the asylum from Mexico right off the bat. Because how do they know there weren't operatives waiting there to bring them back? They don't. Because this is how the asylum policy works. A person may request asylum in any country outside their own. In whichever country an asylum seeker is processed, the host country has the primary responsibility to provide international protection. This includes recognizing and providing safe haven to refugees and processing asylum cases in a fair and timely manner. If a government lacks the capacity or willingness to conduct the process itself, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees may do so for that country. When an individual claims asylum, the assessment process, called refugee status determination, begins. A government official or UNHCR officer interviews the asylum seeker and researches the situation in the country of origin to assess whether their circumstances fit the requirements of any applicable refugee convention. If so, they may be granted refugee status. This means that an authority has recognized them as an in need of refugee. So what are the rights of the asylum seekers? An asylum seeker is entitled to stay in the country of asylum and have their claim heard. Host governments cannot force asylum seekers to return to a country where they fear persecution. So if they accepted the asylum from Mexico, Mexico could not return them to their country. If they were so fearful, Trump is saying, and I'm saying too, why didn't they accept? Why did they reject? It makes no sense unless their agenda was not to seek asylum. And that's what Trump is talking about. So it looks like Turkey released the recordings of the murder of Khashoggi. And again, the recordings and the Turkey newspaper transcribed the recordings, but didn't really point the finger at Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And this is how some of the conversation went from these recordings. Remember, this wasn't the recording. They actually transcribed the recording and then translated it into English. So here's one of the quotes. "Release my arm. What do you think you are doing?" Now, Khashoggi was then brought to Embassy's B room, where the purported leader of the hit squad was waiting, and they started to threaten the journalist. They said, "Traitor, you'll be brought to account." And then they transcribed something saying, "Wow, is it bad luck if I wear the outfit of the person that we just killed 20 minutes later?" So to me, this seems a little ridiculous, but let's move forward with this. Now, Saudi Arabia, the foreign minister, said on Tuesday that all these claims, including the CIA report, that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman gave the order to kill journalist Jamal Khashoggi were false. "We in the kingdom know that such allegations about the Crown Prince have no basis in truth, and we categorically reject them, whether through leaks or not." And this is coming from Saudi Arabia. And they're saying that the leaks that have not been officially announced, they've noticed that they are based on assessment, not conclusive evidence. Now, Trump made an announcement today, back a couple days ago. Trump said that they were going to release the full report from the CIA. They have not done this. Instead, POTUS came out and he issued a statement. He said, "We are standing with Saudi Arabia after Khashoggi's murder." And the president said there is uncertainty as to Mohammed bin Salman's involvement in or knowledge of the murder. Now remember, Blumenthal was out there saying that you must abide by the intelligence community assessment. There's no other way to look at this. Now, why are they pushing so hard? Remember in the beginning when he was coming in as president, they said the same exact thing. They want him to go along with this, and this is a difficult situation. Now, Trump affirms his support for Saudi Arabia and says the world is a dangerous place. But one thing he did say, which I think is very interesting, which is very telling. "I understand there are members of Congress who, for political or other reasons, would like to go in a different direction, and they are free to do so. I will consider whatever ideas are presented to me, but only if they are consistent with the absolute security and safety of America. After the United States, Saudi Arabia is the largest oil-producing nation in the world. They have worked closely with us and have been very, very responsive to my request to keep oil prices at a reasonable level. So important for the world. Think about what he just said here. Think about what everyone else is saying. Oh, he just wants the $1 billion deal. Oh, he just wants, to keep Saudi Arabia so they can keep making money. No, billions of dollars. That's meaningless. This is a multi-trillion-dollar system. Do you really think he's interested in a $1 billion deal? Do you really think that this whole thing revolves around billions of dollars? No, this revolves around the entire global system. If Trump went ahead and did what the deep state wanted and sanctioned Saudi Arabia, cut them off, what would happen to oil prices? What would happen to the petrodollar system that they set up? And I say they, I'm talking about the central bank, the deep state. It would implode. So he went on to say, as President of the United States, I intend to ensure that in a very dangerous world, America is pursuing its national interest and vigorously contesting countries that wish to do us harm. Very simply, it is called America First. He knows what they are trying to do here. He knows they are trying to force him into cutting off Saudi Arabia over this murder of a reporter. This is why they made it such a big deal. This is why they were out there putting the story out in the mainstream media, repeating it, and every mainstream media outlet put out the same exact thing. And this is why they had all the evidence. It was a setup by the intelligence community to trap him into doing something that he would never do, or anyone would do, because they know it would crash the system. And they were trying to push a lot of pressure on him, because think about it. If he went ahead and he did this and the system crashed, they would have their case for impeachment. They would have control over the narrative. They would oust the patriots from their positions, and everything that he did would be undone. The deep state would then take control. And this is why he didn't go along with what they wanted him to do here. Now, what's very interesting is it looks like Saudi Arabia is working with Trump and the patriots. They are talking about peace in Yemen right now. A couple days ago, Mattis was out there saying that we need a ceasefire, and it looks like it is advancing rapidly following a surprise weekend proposal by Yemen's Houthis to halt all attacks on Saudi coalition forces. Yemen and Saudi Arabia, they are now coming together, and they're talking peace. So it appears that the Houthis, they're going to stop all missiles and drone strikes on the countries of aggression, and it appears this halt in fighting was precipitated by a Saudi agreement to the Houthi extension of an olive branch, as according to the AFP, Yemen's internationally recognized Saudi-backed government said it has informed the UN envoy Martin Griffiths it is ready to take part in a proposed peace talks with Houthis rebels to be held in Sweden. So it looks like the war in Yemen is coming to an end. The war in Syria will be coming to an end. It is winding down very, very quickly. Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, all of these wars are coming to an end. The deep state is stuck. They're very nervous about an acting attorney general. They're doing whatever they possibly can to get this individual out there. They are projecting right now because they know what is coming. And we're going to see these small carpet bombs, and then we're going to see the Moab, the mother of all bombs, hit. And I wouldn't be surprised if this all happens 45 days after the midterm election, when the report comes out from DHS and they bring up election fraud. They declass the FISA. They open the investigations into Clinton. They unseal the indictments, because that is the Moab. We're seeing the carpet bombs right now. And we're heading in the direction where the mother of all bombs is going to hit, and the deep state will have no place to run. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.